Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Mysteries and Oddities of the Week video. Thought I would mix one of these in while I'm still going forward with the aliens and UFOs videos. This time though with a slight little twist. So a couple of months back, I kind of changed a little bit of the direction on the Mysteries and Oddities side. Just very brief, kind of just testing things out. And that's where I kind of branched out into a series of videos on why some stuff is as the way it is. Like, why do donuts have the hole in the middle? Or another one that I was going to talk about is why are pretzels essentially in their shape? And then others have suggested other stuff as well that I eventually talked about. It kind of went okay. Like, there were some views, but most of the time it seems like it didn't really hit. So I thought I would change it yet again and then see what your thoughts are here. In this case, it's not necessarily about why certain things are the way they are. In this case, though, it's more of the origin of certain phrases, and I would be able to then talk about where those phrases came by, because when you think about it, some of these phrases I'm going to mention, they seem really weird when you just step back and look at them from far away. Like, why do we say these phrases specifically? That's the whole point of this little twist. So let me know what you think. If it works well, I might even branch it off into a different set of series, something involving, like, so that's where that came from, something along those lines. But it all depends on this video here. By the way, I do this all the time. There was another series that I toyed about doing, something about the lamest heroes and villains in comic book history, just a series of dedicated videos towards some of the corniest stuff that's ever come out of the comic book world. But I decided not to move forward with it, just to give you an idea essentially of what I do. I even made one video as an introduction, but I just left it as is. But yes, in this case, like, when you think about phrases like this one that I'm going to talk about, God bless you, where did that come from? Why did people start saying it? Why is it now so common that to not say it is almost seen like an insult? And then there's other phrases out there like throw the baby out of the bathwater, break a leg, dog eat dog world, I'm not a happy camper. Like, why? Why is that now listed whenever someone is not necessarily happy with a situation? Why does the word camper come into play? Or other phrases like bite the bullet, let's bury the hatchet, we're doing this by the book. Stuff like that, that just I wanted to find out where their origins are from and present it for everyone here. But yes, for this inaugural one, at least in this little twist, I'm going to go ahead and talk about God bless you, the phrase probably most common, one of the most common phrases essentially in the world. So here are its origins. It is surprising to read this stuff, all very fascinating, which is the whole point of this series. So let's go ahead, let's talk about that. In this case, the mysteries and oddities of the phrase God bless you. So this is actually a phrase that goes back a good number of centuries. Apparently it can go back into even the single digits of the year. So not necessarily like year so and so hundred, but in this case year several dozen, or maybe even less than that, probably to like 7-8 AD, something along those lines. The problem though is the phrase God bless you, the only time it really had like any known documentation, you would have to go at the earliest point to about the year 590 AD, and this was with a pope, no less, Pope Gregory the First, who is most cited as having the biggest grace. He was the biggest type of impact on this phrase, and he was also known as Pope Gregory the Great. So here's essentially the origins of God bless you. It's actually tied to a plague, no less. During that time period of 590 AD, there was a rampant set of plague. The bubonic plague is what I was reading, and then another one, there was another unnamed plague that was going on during that time period. And so people were scared. They were absolutely scared that they were going to be the next victims of this plague. And just like anything involving mass large amounts of sickness and diseases, the very first sign that you have something like this generally is the fact that you're sneezing. Anytime somebody sneezes, there's people that say, oh, I'm about to get sick, something like that. That's the same thing that was happening back then in 590 AD. Whenever something like this was happening, the idea was, oh my goodness, I'm about to get sick. But mix that in with the chance of a bubonic plague or some other type of unnamed plague, and you can tell why people were scared, that because they would see others die in large numbers. And so this guy, this Pope Pope Gregory I was the one to introduce a command, something where anytime anybody sneezed and it gave the very first hint that they may even get sick, he ordered people to start saying the phrase, God bless you, almost like in a way of salvation, something where it's along the lines of let the Lord or someone else essentially keep this person from having this plague, this epidemic. So that is the most key turnaround time period of the phrase God bless you, and why it essentially started. Everyone under that command within that area started to state it. Very interesting when I was reading that. Who knew that it was tied mostly towards, in this case, a type of plague. If you go back even further, like I was mentioning earlier, almost towards the single digits, and probably even before then, there were various types of versions of God bless you. Like, for example, the Romans would say, Jupiter preserve you. That's apparently one way of that they would say it. So obviously the Romans were more into the gods, the multiple gods, like the gods that you almost see sometimes in the superhero world. In this case, it's about Jupiter praise you, or save or salve, which is their version of stating good health to you. The Greeks during that same time period have another type of phrase where instead of saying God bless you, they would say long life. Like that was their version of it too. I think though that was tied also with the idea that yes, if you sneeze, there's a chance that you're about to get sick, and so that was their intention with regards to it. Now, as far as other explanations, like where it held on that belief to go even and branch out even further things, there was, of course, the one I just mentioned about the bubonic plague, but there's this one which I've heard about since I was a young person. And it made me realize, how the origins of this are deeply religious in some cases. So there's this notion. Anytime you sneeze, you apparently leave yourself open to an invasion of evil spirits. Something about the soul within you that stays trapped in your body at all times. Well, whenever you sneeze, you have such a powerful force happening within your body. A sneeze is actually like a gust of wind. It's actually about 150 miles per hour, if you could believe it. That's how fast sneezes are coming out of your body. Well, on the religious side, that brief moment of extreme forces essentially leaves you open, leaves your body open, leaves your soul open, and that's where evil spirits can come in. So lots of people in the religious world started using God bless you, or started morphing it more on the lines of shielding against evil, and so that way it could ensure that during that momentary weakness you would not have anything else in terms of a bad force coming within you and then taking things over. So quite an interesting turn, quite a way that this stuff was morphed from, in this case, deadly disease, to now something being paranormal, something more on the lines of evil spirits. And yet another version was more physical. In another realm or another culture, there were people there that thought that any time you sneezed, again, the forces were so powerful that on a physical standpoint, it may cause your heart to stop beating. So to ensure that you would have good luck against that, they would state, God bless you. So that way, also in the touch of the religious side, it would encourage God to keep your heart beating during that time period. Now, I've never actually heard, of course, of somebody sneezing so hard that their heart stopped beating altogether, but that was at least their idea, something that this was a way of preventing that physical aspect from happening there too. But yes, those three main components essentially tied into everything now that you see today when it comes to the phrase God bless you. Sneeze anywhere in this country and in most cases in other parts of the world, and you will have this automatic reaction. People will say God bless you. Again, it's almost seen like an insult if you don't do it. Isn't that awkward? Like, try it one time where someone sneezes, they're nearby you, and then don't mention anything. I bet you that person will then start thinking to themselves, well, how rude, this person didn't mention anything. It's become a custom now, not necessarily anything, of course, tied to religious or preventing diseases. No, it's more on the lines of it's good manners to say it rather than not say it. And if you don't say it, then you're seen as someone that's peculiar, that's odd, that's offbeat for not mentioning this. Try it out one time. I double dare you, and then you'll see the reactions that you'll get, some of the dirty looks from people from not saying something along those lines. By the way, another origin of the word phrase "God bless you," I guess depends on the area of the country you're at. Here in Texas, we hear a lot of the Gesundheit. That has to another version essentially of saying God bless you, but in this case in German. This actually comes from a lot of the German people that moved over here to the U.S. Like there's certain pockets here in Texas that have a very large German influence in them, and that's because during the Great Migration, a lot of people moving over. The whole notion, like you would imagine, like Ellis Island, the movies that showcase all these immigrants coming over to start a new world, a lot of them ended up forming these pockets here, at least in this area, of Germans. And so they adopted a lot of phrases over here too, theirs being Gesundheit, which is actually literally the translation of health. So whenever you hear someone say Gesundheit, they're basically saying health or good health, something along those lines. So if you've ever wondered that aspect, that's essentially what's happening there too. But yes, lots of interesting info though when it comes to the phrase God bless you. I was so surprised to read that basically its origin, its main one, came from, in this case, an unnamed plague or the bubonic plague, and an order from a pope essentially decreeing men having that come forward, and then it just morphed into other aspects altogether. But yes, what do you guys think? That's essentially the new twist that I'm trying to do on the mysteries and oddities side, which I guess if things go even further, I'll talk about other phrases, morph it into another set of series. And again, I'll try to do other phrases like break a leg, dog eat dog world, not a happy camper, like a snake oil salesman, don't beat around the bush, put your best foot forward. All these phrases, I would just try to find the history associated with them and then give you all that info here. I actually toyed for a while the idea that I would create like a drawing, like a flip book of these phrases, just some nondescript guy, kind of like one of those minion looking things that would just be your average nondescript alien type guy who would just be kind of like the person showcasing where these phrases came from, and I would draw it. But that otherwise that just fell on the side. Instead, I would rather do something like this where I showcase the videos for you here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this twist on the series. It'd be interesting to see if y'all are interested in hearing more videos of these types of phrases. So, alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.